Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action, and is it just me or does this Chaos Dragon look extra awesome in the desert? Man, what a cool unit model. Anyway, today we're going to be taking the Warriors of Chaos up against Norsca. Let's get to it. Here in the desert, I've got a Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Fire up on a dragon here. Chaos Dragon, of course, confers fire damage, heavy armor piercing, fear and terror, a breath attack. I don't believe... Oh, it does. The breath attack does cause fire damage. Okay, good to know. Fireball and Cascading Fire Cloak are the two spells. We've also got two Feral Manticores, a line of Chaos Marauders, and a Hell Cannon. Two Chosen with Halberds, backed up by a single group of Chaos Poison Warhounds with plenty of Marauder Horsemen. We've got one Throwing Axe and four Jav Cav. For the Norscans, they've got four Marauder Champions up front with great weapons, Beasts of Tashnar, and Throg, two Feral Mammoths. So, let's see here. Marauders, Shaman Sorcerer of Death. He's got Purple Sun and Spirit Leech, with Marauder Hunters with Javelins, and a single group of Norscan Ice Wolves. Throg already ate a Fireball, did a little bit of damage. And, yeah, we're going to be using these Hounds. Or, sorry, the Hounds being used by my opponent very well here to stop up the Marauder Horsemen. I did sort of put a charge order in, wanting to rout them off real quick. But unfortunately, the Mammoth is going to come in and start bullying my Manticore. You can see it just got a really good hit on the Manticore there. And this is honestly a pretty big mistake by myself. My opponent's going to punish by unleashing the Purple Sun here. With both of the Mammoths coming in, it's going to do a ton of damage to my Marauder Horsemen without having done a whole bunch of damage in return to those Mammoths. So, Beasts of Tashnar, you know, 650, probably not worth all that. Or we are probably going to lose the Feral Manticore, and we lost a ton of Marauder Horsemen. Thankfully, they came back just barely before they routed off the side of the map. At least the one unit did. This other unit is gone. Yeah, they are completely gone. So, definitely not a great trade by me. That other Feral Manticore is pretty much dead at this point. In fact, it is, like, actually dead, getting its head smashed there by the Mammoth. So, yeah, a bit of give and take. A little bit of a mistake by myself to take that engagement there, but the Shaman Sorcerer are going to come forward. He's eating a ton of Javelins and Throwing Axes at this point, so we're getting a little bit of a comeback here. And this Mammoth is way out of position now, so we're going to go ahead and drop a Manticore there. The Chaos Dragon drops in for a quick nom on the Shaman Sorcerer, just to make sure he's not going to want to come back. Unfortunately, we're not quite able to shatter him. But this Feral Mammoth taking a ton of damage here. You can see I've moved my infantry forward. The Hell Cannon is now unleashing shots on these sort of blobbed up champions here. You can see they're advancing in column formation. So we're going to try and punish them because, you know, of course, hitting a nice blob just like that will do quite a bit of damage. Meanwhile, the Javs are being unleashed into my Sorcerer Lord, which is not great, but Throg's coming forward here. One Mammoth has been dealt with, but my Manticore is now enraged, unfortunately, the second Manticore. So we're going to support with the Chosen with Halberds here, and likewise, you know, keep the Dragon in the vicinity to give the Encourage buff as well. Likewise, my own Javs are being unleashed here, and of course, the Feral Mammoth, only 30 armor. Those Javelins will do quite a bit of damage there, and you can see the second Mammoth now being worked through. Throg and the Champions are getting close to getting in contact here, but another Fireball in Throg's face, and the Hell Cannon continuing to rain down shots on the Norscans here. But yeah, those Javelins are definitely starting to do some damage to my Lord, so we're going to go ahead and pull away. The Manticore is enraging straight into Throg, which is just fine by me. He's trying to advance forward, but unfortunately for him, his way is blocked by a unit of Chosen with Halberds. We're also going to bring the Dragon down with Cascading Fire Cloak to proc Kindle Flame and also give a bit of extra melee defense and armor piercing damage. Suddenly Throg's in a bad situation. He does have some Marauder Champions here to support against the Chosen. Marauder Champions will actually trade reasonably cost effectively against the Chosen with Halberds. It's not going to be amazing, but they'll do okay. Unfortunately though, just the mass damage and terror from the Dragon means that they'll promptly rout away. The other champions now getting involved. The Ice Wolves coming in, but the Jav Cav perfectly content to just sit on the side. I've also got another unit of Chosen just sort of chilling at the moment, so feeling pretty confident. The balance of power well in my favor at this point. More Fireballs unleashed on Throg, and with Manticore forcing a blob, we're going to go ahead and throw a Breath Attack in there, and then charge down one more time. The Hounds get terrified, leaving Throg exposed to get a nasty charge from the Fire Sorcerer here up on the Dragon. Again, all doing fire damage, and Throg being weak to fire it is a pretty big liability. Honestly, Throg used to be, in Game 1, the go-to in this matchup, but right now I would say you're much better off going with Wulfric, because Throg's weakness to fire is such a liability here. You know, Archaon can give himself fire damage. Obviously, he has Lore of Fire, and he's super duper strong. You've got the regular Chaos Lord can be buffed up with, like, the Pendant of Slaanesh. He's got Deadly Onslaught. You've got, you know, you can also layer that with Cascading Fire Cloak and more effects, you know, from a Fire Sorcerer. You can just put the Fire Sorcerer himself on the dragon, like I did here. There's a lot of different options for fire damage for Chaos, so I would definitely recommend against bringing Throg here. I know he can be pretty good, you know, he can definitely handle against things like Kolek and so on, but just the fire damage from Chaos is such a big danger. I would definitely not recommend bringing Throg here. For the rest of the build here, Chosen with Halberds are definitely a good choice. I definitely recommend them here. They actually weren't challenged super hard. The champions ended up kind of getting wrecked by everything else. 33 kills and an XP Chevron for the Hell Cannon. Started out with 1, managed to gain another one. The one Feral Manticore was severely misplayed by me, but the other one, rear charging the Mammoths, was actually able to do some really cost-effective damage. Only 800 points for the Feral Manticore. I really think that they maybe ought to bump up the cost to 900, just because they're so cost-effective right now. But nonetheless, in terms of the rest of the army, their Marauder Horsemen sort of did their job, just kind of standing around, taking hits and throwing javelins. For my opponent, I sort of see what he was going for there. He got a really nice Purple Sun initially with that Shaman Sorcerer, but just unfortunately got a little bit discombobulated on the advance. If he had managed to stay high and tight, it might have worked out a little bit better. If the champions had been able to get into the Chosen with Halberds without taking too much damage in the first place, you know, it might have been a little bit more advantageous. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at another battle here. If I can find it, I want to say it's, yep, this one. Okay. So this is a similar matchup. This time Pharaoh Owar's taken Chaos. He's got a slightly different build here. No Lore of Fire, which is a big mistake in my opinion, but he does have a Chaos Lord up on a dragon, which does give fire damage. Obviously there's no Kindle Flame, but still got a Chaos Sorcerer Lore of Metal with Final Transmutation and Plague of Rust, Forbidden Rod as well. Exalted Hero with the let's see, that's the Mark of Corn, I believe, plus the Hellfire Sword, so he also can do fire damage with this active. Likewise, he's got Chaos Marauders, 2 Horse Masters, which I like quite a bit. Let's see here, 1 Chosen with Halberd, a Forsaken, and yeah, Warriors with Great Weapons in the center. For myself, for my Norscan build, I've brought Wulfric up on a Mammoth, which is quite expensive, but he does a ton of armor-piercing damage. He's also got Hunter of Champions, Fight or Die, Sea Fang. We've got a whole line of Marauders with Champions out on the flanks, just sword and board style. We've got Famir Balefiend, Lore of Shadows, a single group of the axe-throwing hunters rather than the javelins, and the Miststalkers out on the far side. You can also see the Kennel getting involved here. We've got the Beasts of Tashnar and Norscan Ice Wolves that just got in here and did a ton of damage for free on one of these units of Marauders. They're also going to do a ton of damage to these Horse Masters who are trying to support here as well. You can see Wulfric breaking the line. He's going to start to get debuffed heavily. We put an Enfeebling Foe and Hunter of Champions, but you can see here, we just quickly pause. Filth Mace, Foe Seeker, Standard Die, Pendant of Slaanesh, all active at the moment, and Wulfric's going to start to take some damage. He's also got Plague of Rust down to only 10 armor, so that Exalted Hero's non-armor piercing damage, 588 weapon strength, will do quite a bit. Final Transmutation also being dropped here, but over on the far side, this is where the battle's actually being won. The Marauder Horsemasters got terrified away, and you can see the Ice Wolves and the Beasts of Tashnar are going to be able to rout off all these units as the Champions and the Miststalkers start to roll up the flank here. Likewise, these throwing axe units are going to start to throw their axes in at the Chaos Sorcerer, sorry, not the Sorcerer Lord, the regular Lord, and he's going to start to take a ton of damage. Unfortunately for me, Wulfric just got pounded there, but you can see despite that, the balance of power is starting to go in my favor. The Balefiend here, you know, with the terror from the Mammoth, able to terrify away some of those Warriors with Great Weapons. The Marauders trading super cost effectively here with the Warriors with Great Weapons, you know, with their armor being sundered by the Famir. And the throwing axes, throwing their axes into that Chaos Lord. They're also going to be very useful at going after the Chosen with Halberds. A little bit of a mistake by me not to use the Hounds to actually push all these units off as I intended, but we are going to try and use the Hounds to support Wulfric if we can, try and keep him safe from the dragons, manticores, and so on. But yeah, at this point, if we kind of take an overarching look, you can see the Javs are sort of dealing with some of the units here, the Miststalkers and the Champions starting to roll up the flank here, and we're going to collapse them in just a moment. The Manticore came down, trying to protect the Sorcerer at this point, which I was going after with the Mammoth. The Hounds here, unfortunately, this is going to spell doom for Wulfric, but balance power is heavily enough in my favor that I'm honestly not too worried about it at this point. Pretty much all the Chaos Warriors with great weapons have been dealt with, and you can see the Chosen, they will obviously do very well one-on-one against the Fimir, but like this, with their armor being sundered, they're fighting Champions, they're fighting a Bale Fiend, they're fighting, you know, the Fimir themselves. They're also getting axes thrown in at them. You can see the throwing axe dudes kind of occasionally chucking an axe up and over that will land on the Chosen's heads. So yeah, it's just a really rough situation for the Chosen with Halberds. They're not going to be able to finish it off, but unfortunately Wulfric getting finished off here by the chaotic heroic core. They're now going to start to go after some of these land units, but unfortunately just the Horse Masters don't really have enough left in the tank. The Marauders don't really have enough left in the tank. A brutal breath attack comes in, actually does a ton of friendly fire to those Chosen, and the Chosen have now been terrified and routed off as well. So yeah, it's just a rough situation all around for Chaos, and at this point it is going to be a victory for Norsca. So even though Wulfric himself didn't do a ton of damage, the fact that he was up on a Mammoth meant that he was a huge distraction, and that my other units were able to roll up the rest of the Chaos army without too much issue. You know, the Miststalkers, the Regiment of Renown Fimir, they cause terror, so they are a very, very useful unit to bring in pretty much every matchup. You layer them with the shielded champions, and then you don't necessarily have to bring great weapons, but I would definitely recommend bringing multiple units of Fimir here, rather than relying on Throg for your anti-large, because the Fimir, they have much heavier armor than Throg, they're not weak to fire, they do armor sundering, they have magic attacks, there's just so much going for them. They've got missile resistance, the Miststalkers even have Vanguard deployment and stock, so there's just so much going for them. We're going to fast forward a little bit here through this late game as Pharaoh sort of reunifies his forces, tries to snipe out the Bale Fiend, but unfortunately for him, my throwing axes are online, continuing to chuck their tomahawks at these flying Chaos units anytime they get close. Also got a unit of Jab Cav as well, so yeah, victory is within grasp at this point. We're going to enfeebling foe that exalted hero, and you know, the Marauder Hunters with throwing axes actually aren't bad in melee. 37 melee attack, 21 melee defense with 28 weapon strength. These guys are super solid, and I think I might start taking them more often. The Hunters with javelins, again, the breath attack here doing a ton of friendly fire to that exalted hero is actually going to shatter him. But anyway, fun stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed that Norsca versus Chaos double cast. We're sort of doing a bit of a discussion on that particular matchup, but it is a super fun one. You know, Norsca versus Chaos, fire versus ice, all that jazz. So hope y'all enjoyed. Well played to Pharaoh War on that one. A good friend of the channel, and always a pleasure to get a game in with him. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.